So as I look up the playing God Kings, the rules on placement of reinforcements, I see I've been playing wrong. It's not just the reinforcements that get placed back in supply, as it were. Everything has to. Which means, leaving the guy here, I didn't have to ship him off the island. He would have come back to the Egyptian mainland, which would have been fine. He would have been up with everything else. But as it is down here, there's no trace. So all of these forces are going to pull back. And the damaged guys recuperate into Egypt proper. Which means it's not the Hatti and the Mitanni who are going to have trouble with the Egyptians. They've got free reign to grab stuff. It's going to be the poor Sumerians down here, which, of course, the Mitanni are thrilled about with the deal they cut. Anyway, I'll live and learn. We'll see what people end up buying. Right now, the Egyptians have 9 tribute points, 8 wood. Going elsewhere, the Mitanni have 5 and 6. The Kassites have 6 and 7. And then the Hatti have 8 and 7. They have an extra tribute point. They don't particularly want to spend that. They don't want to give that to someone, is what it comes down to. They have a use for it. At worst, they can build a garrison back here. No one wants to give them a wood for no real reason, except maybe the Sumerians would be willing to, or the Babylonians would be willing to, for the simple fact that it's not really their skin. So they think, yeah, we might see them hitting the Mitanni, and that would be for the good. Alright, well, I'm going to start deploying the forces using the rules as I understand them now. I don't know how much effect it would have had. Certainly the Babylonians wouldn't have gotten stuck up here. They would have been back where they wanted to be anyway, which would have made everything a lot cleaner and easier. And at an earlier point, the Egyptians wouldn't have had to run back and grab their forces. So, well, again, this is one of the reasons for playing a game, is to get an understanding of this kind of thing. It's a very different feel from other games, and it's actually one of the things that makes me kind of happy. With the long time span, it didn't make sense to get caught back there, really. So we start things off here in the first round with the Egyptians, and they just moved forward using a big card because they have their king there. Didn't have a leader to roll for. The only people who do are the Hatti. I gotta keep remembering to check that. Realize something else I've been forgetting, which is the advantage for having local troops, which usually goes to the defender because they have the political advantage there. Yeah, a shift that I was doing at one point and sort of forgot later in the game. There's no quick summary of all the shifts, no good player aid for that I've seen. Might be one kicking around. No. Just looking, you know, something like that. There's a sequence of play on the back of each of the rule books, but there's no card, no sheet, nothing like to help you calculate the odds quickly for battle. There is, however, here, which is good enough, I guess. I just hadn't noticed it. Okay. And I'm fine with it on the thing. My eyes have trouble reading it, but once I get close enough, I can see it. It's not that badly malformed the way some of the characters are. So, again, we had one of these climactic seeming battles. Egyptians throw down an overwhelming charge, forcing their chariots to do this huge amount of damage, none of which counts towards victory, right? And then demonic invocations, which actually, along with the other thing, gave a 2-point swing to the Kassites. Good chance they're going to win this battle, even though they took a huge loss to begin with, because both sides are big enough, they're their whole armies, that they will probably cause more damage. Well, the actual battle went in favor of the Egyptians anyway, so the Egyptians get a victory point, and the Kassites have to go stumbling back. The space actually falls to the Egyptians because the Kassites didn't have I'm looking at their wooden tribute points, making sure they didn't have a garrison here. So this becomes an Egyptian territory. However, they haven't destroyed the enemy army, which is what you kind of want in this kind of game, right? And these were obviously spent because they have chariots. Unless I forgot to remove the chariots as well. But yeah, you have this desire, and let's see if we've got chariots here. We've got a big pile of chariots here too, so I guess I spent these. They had no army whatsoever. You have this desire to see these really, really conclusive battles. Yes, that would be a really luck-based game. But you know what? Some of these battles did seem to hinge more on, you know, something that maybe you couldn't command and understand and completely control from the level at which this game is played. Certainly on the field itself you would see it, but where maybe there would be more control. But once you actually commit, two huge forces go together, you don't know which one's going to be defeated, and one could be roundly defeated. And basically, I think the effect of, say, a 5-year campaign would make sense. 25-year turns, not so much. But the 5-year turns don't seem intense enough. They seem too slow. What I'd like to see is the army destroyed in those 5-year turns and enough activity that you could really swing a couple of provinces perhaps that way, or at least one fairly completely. Usually though what happens is it isn't until the army is destroyed in a 25-year slugathon, like we saw with the Hatti, for example, where someone's able to just dominate and take over, if the two have fairly equal forces, or even if they don't, if one side has any force. That just feels wrong to me. It's not the cycle I expect here. Anyway. Guess we're moving on. And the Mitanni used a betrayal card, which, if it activates a general, gives a +3 to the siege roll. Well, against a normal city like this, with a garrison, that meant it just fell automatically. Bonuses for him. He's taken over Ugumrit. Then on the Kassite turn, they attacked back into Kadesh. Now, they got hit with the illness of a god. Gave a 2 shift to the die roll, but in addition, the Egyptian charge succeeded again, and the Babylonian army is almost destroyed. It's very, very fragile. Now, the Egyptian army is fragile too, so he's going to have a problem facing the Mitanni with his army. Kind of a neat little balance there, where, of course, the Hatti have this great advantage of where they're going to be able to expand. Everyone else is kind of in a stasis position except the Mitanni, who can come down and beat up whoever they choose. And they're going to, of course, choose to beat up the Egyptians because that's kind of what the deal is that they and the Babylonians made. And then the Babylonians would be free to move forward. Of course, we got the Hatti to move first. I wanted to touch something because we were over here. This, not what it looks like, but it's not far. It's aloe juice of some sort, obviously sweetened. This one's a coconut flavored one. It's kind of interesting because when you drink it, it's got these little lumps, and they look kind of like snot, and they kind of feel like it. When I had one, it was very kind of like wet snot, and these are kind of like hard little boogers, but when they sit in your mouth for a while, they melt. And anyway, it's an interesting experience. If you get a chance to try it, you might want to. Alright, let's go on to the Hatti. So here in the second round, the Egyptians do something that I haven't done yet this turn, or this game. They play a big card and raise troops by 3 mercenaries, adding it to their force. This is going to give their army a lot more backbone. If they get attacked by even the Mitanni, they'll be able to take some losses and perhaps hold off. Another option would have been to build a garrison here in Kadesh, making it tougher to just lose it if they lost a battle. They think they can win a battle, though. Alright, onward. Okay, well, at the end of 2, the Mitanni came slashing down against the Egyptians after that action. And They were actually defeated again. That's a third point that the Egyptians have gotten, and my first thought there is, wow, somebody better do something about them. Well, the Hatti are, and they're taking points away, so it's probably not going to be close to, anywhere near an automatic victory, no matter how many times the Egyptians win battles here. But it is kind of impressive how they keep driving everyone off. Then the Kassites raised their own mercenaries, and with a 3-point card. And then the Hatti came down, took this, thought about a move against the Mitanni here, but they couldn't actually capture it and they couldn't siege it because it's just a PC marker. They instead went in here and took a siege, which was successful against the Egyptians. And probably a better move overall. They want to hurt the Egyptians more. Alright, so we'll go on to the third round here. So in the third round, let's see what happened. I believe the Egyptians built their garrison here. Just a sort of a assurance move, so that if they do get driven out. Following that, the Mitanni built their Royal Guard unit, which is a powerful unit. Takes a special card. Someone else has it. The Egyptians have theirs. Yeah, theirs. It's actually on the map here. They've left it behind because they didn't have enough room for it in the mobile army, and now they could run back and get it, but it doesn't seem worth it. After that, the Kassites played a diplomacy card and grabbed Sharlchan, which kind of blows away the Egyptian holding in Canaan. They're going to have to go back and take that. And finally, the Hatti swung over here and lay Shalatuwar under siege. I noticed there was an Egyptian marker still here that couldn't have lasted throughout the turn. It went away at the beginning of the turn, essentially. It doesn't convert to Hatti, though, which means the Hatti don't lose points for it, but they might lose control of their home province if they're not careful and don't reassert their control at some point. At least that's the way I take it. Anyway, they failed in their siege, so they have a +1 next time. And they're trying to increase their holdings down here. Alright, well, that's the end of that. We go to the fourth. We're moving a lot faster. As the game speeds up and I start playing it more and describing it less, I'm a lot happier, and that's always the case with these. It's really kind of miserable playing out the CDGs, especially when I'm paying too much attention to the camera. Anyway, what we have here, the Egyptians returned. They had their own diplomacy card, and they got it back. Mitanni played a Royal Hunt card, which gave them a victory point up here. And again, as you get used to the game, it becomes better too, just easier. You don't feel like you're forgetting. Even if you forget things, you don't have to harass yourself as much. It's just a general case with every game. And the visual aspects, once you get kind of used to them, they tone down a little bit. Okay, so let's go over to the Kassites. They played a 3-point card and grabbed themselves a bigger army. They're preparing to attack the Egyptians and try to drive them out of Kadesh again. I don't know how much value that is. It's got a garrison in it, and there's only one more round. I think that was a foolish move, but whatever. And then finally with the Hatti, well, they tried to complete that siege. It did not succeed, which kind of means it's unlikely they're going to take this. Now, it's possible they could go 1, 2. That'll cost them 4 to move into because of the mountains. So, I don't know. It's really unlikely that they're going to take the province. They may win the siege, and that's what they really need to do. But they've ended up with 2 provinces. They didn't gain either one then, which is kind of painful. All right. On to the last round. In the end of it all, the Egyptians actually moved up to here and grabbed the territories remaining. This puts them in a better position for attacking later. The Mitanni grabbed a victory point with something called the Great Hunt, I believe. Let's see, maybe I lied. Maybe that was last turn. Yeah, that looks like it was last turn. Oh, what they did. Oh, I see. They played a 3-point card and got trade and tribute points. Over to the Kassites. They made that attack. No real reason they couldn't win at Kadesh. Well, they lost the battle, giving the Egyptians yet another victory point. And then the Hatti went and they managed to take their city, but that's all they got. They aren't going to get the points for either this or this. So that's kind of painful. All right, well, now I guess we're on to the victory point segment. And I know that the Mitanni want to keep their card. The Hatti were considering keeping theirs. They have a pretty good one. They actually threw a good one away as well. But they like this one because it allows you to bring back a pile of units after you lose a fight, so you can fight again and maybe you know, totally devastate the enemy in the next round. All right, well, I'll come back if anything interesting happens. So quick look at the victory points. The Mitanni are at 15, as are the Egyptians with all their victories. The Mitanni are physically doing better. Their total points were close to what the Egyptians had, only a point behind to begin with. So it's beginning to look like a more evenly drawn game where maybe there's less opposition to the Egyptians straight up. You might see the Hatti, for example, attacking the Mitanni. And the question here is, of course, can the Sumerians take the Egyptians on? Will it break into a two-battle situation? Or will the Egyptians continue to push against the Mitanni, which is where they're making their ground as opposed to, against the Babylonians. What else? Well, at the beginning of next turn, we're going to see the Assyrians come in, which means the Mitanni are actually gone. Bang, they're going to show up here. That still makes Egypt the scary rival because Assyria is going to show up in the background there. All right, I'll score those points. I'll decide who's going which way. Do that first. And then, well, I'll be loading this up either way.